Hi guys, it's Sarah. Today I'm going to show you how to do nose contour my favorite way. This is going to be, first of all, slimming for the nose. It's going to lengthen the nose, and it's going to give you a button nose and that nice little shape that goes like this with like a sticking out little tiny tip. Okay, so to start, what you want to do is take some concealer. I'm going to do it on this big flat brush. You don't want too much so that it's not like too difficult to blend out. I'm just wiping it off here a little bit. What you're going to do this is cover the shadows that are making your nose appear wider. So people will typically go in with a contour on the sides to like push it in because shadow pushes things back, but it's actually a little bit counterintuitive. But what you have to do is cover up those shadows with concealer to lighten the area, and then that counteracts the shadows that are naturally there, which make your nose appear wider. So you can already see that my nose is starting to look slimmer just on this side by covering up this shadow that you see here. Then I like to go a little bit right here, blend, a little bit more, blend, and you kind of just keep doing this. And what this is going to do, it's kind of like a artist technique where when you diffuse and you add, it's just naturally gonna like spread outwards in a really nice and diffused way, making the center have the most concentrated amount of light, and then it like diffuses outwards so it looks like a sphere. And the tinier you make this little diffusion space of concealer, the tinier the tip of your nose is gonna look. But you don't want to make it too tiny. That's when it starts to look really fake and just not right. Okay, I'm also gonna highlight a little bit here. Now my concealer is not even lighter than my face right now because I have lost so much of my tan, but when you do this with a lighter concealer, it'll look a lot more, like it'll make a lot more sense. So I'm just doing a little bit here, and then it's gonna get narrower and more diffuse as I go downwards. And I'm skipping this whole middle part of my nose because we want to push that back with contour so it looks like it's swooping backwards, and these two bits are coming out, so it's gonna look like it's going like this basically, so like this. Next, you want to take your little contour. You can do this with powder. I'm going to do this with cream and powder because I think that gives you the best result. Since powder is pretty unforgiving, I like to go in with cream first, but I do like the look of powder because it looks a little bit, you know, more intense. But this is definitely going to be natural. So what I'm doing is taking some of this Fenty in Amber, and I'm just, you can see that my nose is a little bit like that from this side, but you can't really tell from the front in some light. But I'm just going at the bottom of my nose. If your nose isn't as like tilted up, or it starts like, if your tip goes lower down, you can start going a little bit higher to where you want the bottom of the tip of your nose to sit. So I'm fine with it right here. You can go even higher up or lower down, whatever you want. And then I'm just blending it outwards to make the shadow more apparent under my nose, so you can tell that this is underneath and this is sticking out. With what's left, see my nostril starts right here, which makes the tip appear like it's about that big. So I like to make it look like my nostrils start around here, so the tip of the nose looks smaller. So what I'm going to do is, where my nostril starts right there, is I'm going to flick the contour towards like this tip of my nose to pull those nostril beginnings in, if that makes any sense. Just like that. This is going to help create that rounded, teeny weeny tip of the nose. And we're going to blend this out a little bit further with a fluffier brush, but yeah, you can simplify this if you want in any way. Okay, so there's a bump on the nose that's right here on basically everyone's nose. You can see it on some people, you can't see it on some people, because actually the skin here is the thinnest and it's thicker here and here. So when you can see like a no bump over here, it's because of the skin thickness on most people. but there is a bump there for most people. You can feel and see if you have one. Because of that, I like to skip that when I'm doing contour at first and only address that when I'm blending, because it'll pick up more product and it won't like, it'll make the contour look strange. It'll go outwards where you put it on the bump for some reason. So yeah, I just go right here all the way up to my brow, and what this is doing is lengthening the nose, and if something's longer it looks slimmer naturally, so if I make my nose look taller, it's gonna make it also look slimmer. And then you can just blend it inwards, and that's gonna make it look like it's going towards this bridge of the nose, so it's making it look slimmer. It's kind of blending into the concealer. Okay, then I'm going to take another synthetic brush that is a little bit fluffier, and it's kind of, I don't know if you can see, a little bit rounded, which is going to help because you're kind of like rounding out the nose here. We're not doing any harsh straight lines. So I'm picking up a little bit more and just helping blend all of that. So blending inwards is going to be more ideal most of the time, because that'll like marry it a little bit with the concealer, and it makes it easier to not go super outwards where you're gonna make your nose look thicker again. So I'm going right above this little circle here, and I'm adding a tiny bit more contour right in this area so that it looks like it's being pulled back, and then I'm diffusing it upwards towards the middle of the nose so that it gives that illusion of a swoop by pulling it back in space a little bit. I don't know if you can see very well, but if you do this in real life, like if I'm looking in my mirror, it's pretty obvious what I'm doing, but I don't want to overdo it because I want you to be able to copy this and then it looks good on you in real life. Okay, taking a tiny bit more, I'm going right here. You want to make sure that you're using a color that is your contour shade. So your contour shade would be your skin tone mixed with gray, but a little bit darker. So it's going to be more gray and darker than your face, and you can see it's not too far off from my skin, which is why it looks natural when I do all this like crazy stuff to my nose, because it's the correct shade. It looks like a natural shadow on my face. So if you use something that's too warm and too dark, which is what most people do, that's when it starts to look quite unrealistic and only looks good on camera from one angle. This you can wear in person and you look good from all angles basically. I also like to take mine right here above my eyelid because I think this shadow is quite deep on my eyelid, so I like to just make it look like it goes up here as well, just to like make it look less deep right here on my eyes. Now before we go in with powder contour, I'm gonna bake. So I'm taking a little bit of powder on this e.l.f. C brush. It's a great brush for nose contour baking. So I'm starting right here where I placed my concealer earlier, and what this is going to do is further brighten that area. So just where that shadow was before, I'm going to want to cover that up. It's also cleaning up the cream contour and also will act as a guard for the unforgiving powder contour. So it won't, even if you go a little bit outside where you want it to sit, it's gonna be like guarded by the powder, so it's not gonna sit on your skin and be so unforgiving. So I'm just doing it right on the sides of where I placed my contour. And then I'm also, now this is the perfect shape for the tip of the nose, for my nose, because I can just go like this and it creates like the perfect little shape. And then I just blend the bottom so that it looks like a little ombre diffusion, which light diffuses, so you want to make sure everything looks like blended and it'll look a lot more natural. And then I'm just going to place some more here to highlight that area where we put concealer earlier. You can do this center part with a highlighter. I just prefer it with powder. Okay, if I go close up, you can kind of see where I placed everything a little bit more. Now with the powder contour, I'm going to take this curved brush. It's like pretty flat and nice and fanned out. I'm going to take this Kaleidos, I think that's how you say it, contour palette. They have amazing contour palettes. Their powders, they have the proper gray shade, so you can use this if you're more cool tone, you can use this if you're a little bit more warm tone. You can mix and whatever. These are good contour shades. And it comes with 3, so that's always a really good highlighting shade. And you can mix these depending on your skin, so it's like you buy one and you're just set for contour. So I'm gonna mix these a tiny bit, and you don't want too much. Now I'm gonna go right here to reinforce that cream contour and just flick it outwards a little bit and flip the brush when I want to blend. You don't want this look too intense. And then I'm gonna start going up and reinforce that circle that I did earlier and flick it towards the powder that's baking on my nose. And I'm going to add a little bit more, but every time I add more, I'm just going to pat it off right here before going anywhere else so it's not too harsh. And then going right above, blending that downwards a tiny bit and upwards as well, so it looks like that swoop we want. And then go right on top here, really lightly. And I'm kind of skipping that bump a little bit. First I'm going to go right here. And then I'm going to go over that bump as well without adding any more product onto there. Okay, then I'm going to take a powder puff and just pat everything in. This is going to take away that bake and blend everything together a little bit more. And then you're done. That's your little nose. It looks quite different on camera, but that's okay because when you follow this, it'll look perfect in real life. See from all angles, it looks good. It's not very too visible on camera because camera like blurs stuff out and washes it out, so you're gonna have to follow this in real life. But yeah, I hope I explained well enough that you can understand what it looks like and you can follow along yourself and hopefully achieve a similar thing. I hope that was alright. If you have any questions, let me know. But yeah, that's how I do my nose contour.